Today I wanted to do a crazy video. We're to go back to the 2014 NFL Draft and go through the entire first round. We're to go through each and every selection, talk about who the player is, and what ultimately happened to them. The video is going to be a decade glance back at the 2014 Draft, and without further ado, let's go ahead and just get started with it. So at number 32, the Minnesota Vikings selected quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. After a great career at Louisville, where he was considered a Heisman candidate, Teddy went to the Vikings to be their franchise guy. He looked pretty good while he was there, but suffered some pretty bad injuries that kept him out of a lot of playing time and put his entire career in danger. He only played in one postseason game with Minnesota in 2015, and they lost because their kicker missed a chip shot field goal. The Vikings did not re-sign him, and he ended up a journeyman quarterback playing for the Saints in 2018, Carolina in 2020, Denver in 2021, Miami in 2022, and Detroit in 2023, before retiring to be the head coach at his old high school. He finished his career with 15,000 passing yards, 75 touchdowns, 47 interceptions, and 11 scores on the ground. At number 31, we had Denver Broncos taking Bradley Roby, a corner. He was one of the top corner prospects in the 2014 draft class, which is why the Broncos took him to shore up their top-tier defense behind Chris Harris and Aqib Talib. He spent 5 years with the Broncos from 2014 to 18 and helped them win Super Bowl 50, but struggled in 2018 and ended up with the Texans for 2019. He was traded from Houston to New Orleans in 2021, but was injured a lot and was then released from the Saints at the start of the 2023 season. He has not currently found the field since then and is a free agent. In his career, he recorded a total of 370 tackles, 11 interceptions, and 4 defensive touchdowns. He was a solid starting corner in the NFL, but probably wasn't worth a first-round pick in retrospect. At number 30, the San Francisco 49ers selected Jimmy Ward, a safety. He was a bit of an all-purpose player for the 49ers during the time on his roster, and he came out of Northern Illinois. He played some safety, but also moved around on defense, spot starting at the nickel corner spot, and helping lead the 49ers to a Super Bowl appearance in 2019, where he had 11 tackles and was the best player on their defense. The 49ers would let him go for the 2023 season though, and he ended up in Houston as the starting safety, but recurring injuries kept him out of the lineup for the majority of the year. So far in his career, he's logged over 500 tackles, 3 sacks, and 8 interceptions, and is currently coming off an injury and will return to the Texans starting lineup here soon. At number 29, the New England Patriots took Dominique Easley, a defensive tackle from Florida. Being undersized and suffering multiple season-ending injuries did not stop Florida defensive tackle Dominique Easley from being a first-round pick given his talent. He'd have a really weird career though, logging an interception before he logged a sack, and not starting as a defensive tackle until Vince Wilfork left the Pats in 2015. He finished both 2014 and 15 on IR, so the Patriots cut him, and then he went to the Rams in 2016. He tore his ACL in 2017 and was out of football entirely by 2019. He finished every season of his career except for 2016 on IR and had a grand total of just 6.5 sacks, 44 tackles, and 41 total games played. At number 28, the Carolina Panthers took wide receiver Kelvin Benjamin from Florida State. Needing some weapons for Cam Newton, the Panthers grabbed the giant Kelvin Benjamin from FSU. He looked great as a rookie, hauling in 73 passes for 1,008 yards and 9 touchdowns as the Panthers' best receiver. But he missed 2015 with an injury, and his size started to become an issue, and at one point he was up to 245 pounds. In 2017, the Panthers traded him to Buffalo, where he suffered yet another injury, and in 2018, he spent a few games with the Chiefs and was even tried out as a tight end for the Giants in 2019, but didn't make the team. He ended his career with 3,000 receiving yards and 20 touchdowns in just 5 years. After Benjamin, we had the Arizona Cardinals selecting Deion Buchanan, a safety/linebacker. He was one of the more interesting players in the 2014 draft class as he came out of Washington State. The Cardinals picked him specifically for his versatility, and after starting his career in Arizona as a safety, he moved to inside linebacker in 2015 and became one of the best coverage linebackers in the league. He was also named to the All-Rookie team, but he had some down seasons in 2017 and 18 and ended up bouncing around between the Buccaneers, Giants, and Falcons from 2019 to 2021 before he returned to the Bucs and eventually flamed out of the NFL. But he was on the roster for the Buccaneers Super Bowl win, so he got a ring. He would finish his career with 434 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 7 sacks. At number 26, the Philadelphia Eagles selected Marcus Smith, a linebacker. He also played at Louisville, just like Teddy Bridgewater did, and sometimes a player just immediately becomes a bust, and that's what Smith was. He only played in 8 games his rookie season and was a backup on the roster until 2017, and when the team declined to pick up his 5th-year option, he became a free agent. He ended up in Seattle for a little bit and was moved to defensive end in 2017, but didn't stick with the Seahawks and ended up in Washington for 2018. He didn't play a single snap in Washington before he was cut though. He finished his career with 6.5 sacks and 25 tackles in 53 games. But he might be most remembered for a children's book he wrote after retiring from football in 2020. At number 25, the San Diego Chargers selected Jason Verrett, a corner from TCU. He was supposed to help their backfield alongside Brandon Flowers and Sharice Wright, and he instantly became one of the more underrated corners in the league. He missed most of his rookie year with a rotator cuff, and that was tough, but he made the Pro Bowl in 2015 and ended 16, 17, and 18 on IR for leg injuries. He signed with the 49ers in 2019, but tore his Achilles tendon in 2021 and 2022. He bounced around between the Texans and 49ers practice squads in 2023, but then tore his rotator cuff again in 2023, and he hasn't been in football since. He never played a complete full season in the NFL and had 4 years where he only played one game, finishing in total with 7 interceptions. Number 24, the Cincinnati Bengals selected Darqueze Dennard, a corner from Michigan State. He was supposed to be the future of the cornerback position in Cincinnati, but he ended up just being kind of average. He was stuck behind some veterans his rookie season and only played 41 snaps. In 2015, he struggled to find much more playing time as a boundary corner, and the Bengals picked up his fifth-year option because he was a solid third or fourth corner in a market where that is hard to find, but he definitely didn't play like a first-round pick. After not being re-signed by the Bengals in 2020, he bounced around between the Falcons, Cardinals, Colts, Giants, and 49ers before finally being out of football in 2022. He finished his career with just 4 interceptions and 313 tackles in 8 seasons. Coming up next, we have to talk about Dee Ford. The Kansas City Chiefs decided to take him with pick number 23, and he was an edge rusher from Auburn. The Chiefs were still in their process of rebuilding back in 2014 and would need an edge rusher to help kickstart their defense, and Dee Ford was an athletic freak at Auburn that had a really high ceiling. Unfortunately, he never reached it in his 5 years with the Chiefs, with his most well-known moment being a false start that kept the Chiefs out of the 2018 Super Bowl. 2018 was a career season for him though, with 13 sacks, meaning he was a top target in free agency. Afterwards, he spent 3 years with the 49ers from 2019 to 2021, ironically enough losing to the Chiefs in the 2019 Super Bowl, but was out of the NFL by 2022. He finished his career in total with 40 sacks and 159 tackles. Number 22, the Cleveland Browns selected Johnny Manziel, a quarterback from Texas A&M. There may not have been a more polarizing pick in the 2014 draft than Manziel, and the Cleveland Browns were able to take a chance on him. He was terrible with the Browns though, as he played in just 5 games his rookie year and then 10 the next. He went 2-6 as a starter, throwing 7 touchdowns and 7 picks. Off the field, he kept getting in trouble and didn't put any effort into learning the playbook or becoming a better quarterback. He flamed out of the NFL in 2015 and then flamed out with the CFL as well. He'd end up playing with the Memphis Express of the AAF in 2019, and since retiring from the NFL, he was in the experimental fan-controlled football league and has basically been telling players not to do what he did. Number 21, the Green Bay Packers selected Clinton Dix, a safety from Alabama. He was seen as one of the best safety prospects in the 2014 class and made a name for himself on Green Bay immediately by making the all-rookie team. In 2016, he was a Pro Bowler with a 5-interception, 80-tackle season. He stayed with the Packers until the 2018 campaign, where they traded him after just a few games to Washington. From there, he bounced around the league, playing for Chicago in 2019, Dallas in 2020, and then the 49ers, Raiders, and Broncos in 2021, before retiring in 2022. He finished his career with 522 tackles and 16 interceptions and is currently on the staff at Alabama. At number 20, the New Orleans Saints selected Brandon Cooks, a wide receiver from Oregon State. Cooks had big playability and 4.3 speed, and that's one of the things that the Saints were looking for when they drafted him out of Oregon State. He was instantly a force for the Saints, and before he had to finish the season on IR with a thumb injury, he had 550 yards and 3 touchdowns. He then spent the next 2 years in New Orleans before he was traded to the Patriots, where he was the team's best receiver and led them to a Super Bowl appearance, but couldn't play because of a concussion. From there, he ended up with the Rams in 2018 and 19, and the Texans from 2020 to 2022 before he was traded again, this time to the Cowboys in 2023. So far in his career, he has 6 seasons over 1,000 yards receiving and has a total of 9,273 yards and 57 touchdowns. At number 19, the Miami Dolphins selected Jawan James, an offensive tackle out of Tennessee. Miami needed to shore up their offensive line, which is exactly why they took the offensive tackle out of Tennessee. He started immediately as a rookie and was good enough to be listed on the all-rookie team. He continued to start on and off for the Dolphins throughout 2018, and then he became a free agent. In 2019, he signed with the Denver Broncos, but tore his Achilles in 2021, and when he healed, he was released and signed by the Ravens. 2022 would be his last year in the league, and he finished his career with 66 total starts. At number 18, the New York Jets selected Calvin Pryor, a safety from Louisville. He was drafted to be the team's starting safety as they attempted to rebuild a defense in the AFC East, but his rookie year, he only started 11 games and recorded just 2 pass deflections and a half sack. The next year in 2015, he had a bit of a breakout with 2 interceptions and 6 deflections, and then in 2016, he had 6 pass deflections. The Jets ended up getting Jamal Adams and Marcus May, and he was traded to the Browns. After a fight, though, he was released and spent 2017 with Jacksonville before flaming out of the league entirely by 2018. At number 17, the Baltimore Ravens selected C.J. Mosley, a linebacker from Alabama. Since he was drafted in 2014, Mosley has been one of the most consistent linebackers in the league. He spent 5 years with the Ravens from 2014 to 2018, making 4 Pro Bowls during that time frame. In 2019, though, he signed with the Jets, where he's been ever since then, making another Pro Bowl in 2022. So far in his career, CJ has over 1,000 tackles, 12 sacks, and 12 interceptions, and he's currently recovering from a groin surgery, but is one of the Jets' best linebackers. Halfway through the 2014 NFL Draft, quickly be sure to leave a like if you're supporting today's video. Let me know your thoughts so far, and what other player, team, topic, or draft class I could cover next. At number 16, the Dallas Cowboys selected Zach Martin, an offensive guard from Notre Dame. He had been one of the best guards in the league since he was drafted, and he instantly became a starter for the Cowboys and made the Pro Bowl his rookie season. He then proceeded to have 9 Pro Bowl years since his rookie season and is on the All-Decade team for the 2010s. He's been one of the most consistent guards as well, with just 2 seasons under 94% snap appearances and has only committed 21 penalties in 11 years. He honestly might be one of the best players in the NFL. At number 15, the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Ryan Shazier, a linebacker from Ohio State. There may not be a sadder story in the first round than Ryan Shazier. After starting for the Steelers as a rookie and having a solid 2015 campaign, Ryan had a Pro Bowl season in both 2016 and 2017. But near the end of his 2017 season, he severely injured his back during a tackle and had to have emergency surgery so that he would not be paralyzed. He'd then take his first steps publicly to announce the Steelers' first-round draft pick in 2018, but made it clear he wouldn't be playing football again anytime soon. He would officially announce his retirement in 2020, and Shazier deserves his own video here at some point. At number 14, the Chicago Bears selected Kyle Fuller, a corner out of Virginia Tech. He was one of the more underrated corners in the league during his peak, and the Bears took him at the 14th pick. He started his career behind Charles Tillman, but had an all-rookie season with 10 deflections and 4 picks. His second year, he struggled a bit in pass coverage though, with some thinking he should be moved to safety, and he missed all of 2016 with an injury. After a bounce-back year in 2017, he'd make his first Pro Bowl appearance in 2018. In 2020, he left the Bears and signed with the Broncos, where he was a disappointment, and wasn't very good in Baltimore either in 2022, and then tore his ACL. He finished his NFL career with 86 pass deflections and 19 picks in 8 years. At number 13, the St. Louis Rams selected Aaron Donald, a defensive tackle from Pittsburgh. Honestly, what is there to say about Aaron Donald that hasn't already been said? He's one of the best defensive tackles in NFL history, having spent his entire career at the Rams and just retiring last year. He was a 10-time Pro Bowl selection, 2021 Super Bowl champion, Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2014, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year in 17, 18, and 20, and he retired at the end of 2023 because he felt like he accomplished everything he could try to accomplish, and honestly, he kind of did. He finished his career with over 111 sacks, 340 tackles, and 24 forced fumbles. At number 12, the New York Giants selected Odell Beckham Jr., a wide receiver from LSU. OBJ had one of the flashiest years as a receiver ever, but since he regressed to a below-average receiver. He was a surprise breakout his rookie season, including that one catch that everybody's seen by now, but broke the rookie record for receiving stats in a single month. But his Giants career waned, and he left the team in 2019 after some weird character moments and ended up with the Browns for a couple of seasons. In 2021, he finished out the year with the Rams and was on the roster for the Super Bowl win, but tore his ACL and bounced around between Baltimore and Miami the next couple of years. So far in his career, he has 7,932 receiving yards and 59 touchdowns. At number 11, the Tennessee Titans selected Taylor Lewan, an offensive tackle from Michigan. He started out at left tackle for the Titans almost immediately, making the all-rookie team in 2014, and was a 3-time Pro Bowl player in 2016, 17, and 18. He was known to pick fights with opposing players, but still remained a starting caliber tackle for the Titans' pushes in the playoffs in 2023. After he announced that he felt like he was going to be cut, the Titans cut him. He's currently one of the hosts of the podcast Bussin' with the Boys. At number 10, the Detroit Lions selected Eric Ebron, a tight end from North Carolina. Ebron had one of the greatest ceilings out of any offensive player in the 2014 draft class, but failed to reach it. He spent 5 years in Detroit from 2014 to 18, and after a disappointing first and second year, he became the starter for the Lions in 2016. He stayed with them as a starter through 2017, but was then released before the 2018 campaign and ended up with the Indianapolis Colts. He'd end up on IR there in 2019 and spent 2020 and 2021 with the Pittsburgh Steelers before he was passed on the depth chart by Pat Freiermuth. He ended his career with nearly 4,000 receiving yards and 33 receiving touchdowns, as well as 5 rushing touchdowns. At number 9, the Minnesota Vikings selected Anthony Barr, a linebacker from UCLA. He was considered the defensive athlete with one of the highest ceilings in 2014, as he spent the first 8 years of his NFL career with the Minnesota Vikings, making 4 straight Pro Bowls from 2015 to 2018, but he would suffer some injuries later on in his time there, so the Vikings would restructure his contract, and he was allowed to enter free agency in 2022. He signed with the Cowboys to provide depth, but injured his hamstring and wasn't brought back in 2023. Instead, he went back to Minnesota, where he was once again a backup. So far in his career, he has 554 tackles, 5 interceptions, and 18.5 sacks. At number 8, there's no weirder story in this draft class than Justin Gilbert, who was a corner taken with pick number 8 out of Oklahoma State. It feels like the Browns honestly ruined this poor guy. He couldn't find the field in 2 seasons there, so they traded him to the Steelers in 2016, where he was mostly used on special team kick coverages. He was then cut by the Steelers in 2017 and ended up in arena football in 2023. His career honestly doesn't make any sense to me because he was great in college and for some reason just did not work out in the pros. At number 7, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers selected Mike Evans, a wide receiver from Texas A&M. He was one of the top pass catchers in this draft class, mostly because of his great catch radius, his huge size, and his athleticism. He spent his entire career at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and made the 2014 All-Rookie team and has made 5 Pro Bowls. He was a huge part of the 2020 Buccaneers team that won the Super Bowl and tied for the lead in touchdown receptions that year with 13. He has not had a single season without at least 1,000 receiving yards, and so far in his career, he has 11,956 yards and 99 touchdowns. At number 6, the Atlanta Falcons selected Jake Matthews, an offensive tackle from Texas A&M. He had quietly been one of the most consistent starting left tackles in the NFL, as he missed just 1 game his rookie season with a high ankle sprain and was the starting tackle for Atlanta's Super Bowl run in 2016. He made his first Pro Bowl in 2019 and would sign a 3-year extension, so he'll likely spend his entire career in Atlanta. He started 138 consecutive games by the end of November 2022, which was the longest active streak in the league at any point. Even though he's not considered one of the better tackles in the league, he's still very good and has carved out a nice career for himself. At number 5, the Oakland Raiders selected Khalil Mack, a defensive end from Buffalo. There was once a time when Khalil Mack was one of the most feared defensive linemen in the league. He spent his first 4 years of his career from 2014 to 17 with the Oakland Raiders, making Pro Bowls in 15, 16, and 17, and winning the 2016 Defensive Player of the Year award. But for some reason, the Raiders traded him to the Bears in 2018, where he played until 2021 and had 3 more Pro Bowl seasons from 2018 to 20. He's then traded back to the Chargers in 2022, where he had 1 game where he had 6 sacks and also made 2 more Pro Bowls. Despite his career in which he's posted over 100 sacks and 3 picks, he's only ever played in 4 postseason games and has lost every single one of them. At number 4, the Buffalo Bills selected Sammy Watkins, a receiver from Clemson. He was supposed to be one of the most electric players in the 2014 draft, but he just didn't develop. He spent 3 years in Buffalo from 2014 to 16, setting the Bills' rookie record for receptions and receiving yards in a season, but repeatedly voiced his frustrations about not getting more targets and kept getting small injuries. He was then traded to the Rams in 2017, where he had a solid but not great season, and signed with the Chiefs in 2018, where he was part of the Super Bowl team in 2019. After his time with the Chiefs, he bounced between the Ravens and Packers before not playing in 2023. So far in his career, he has 5,383 receiving yards and 34 touchdowns, but only ever had 1 year over 1,000 yards. At number 3, we had Blake Bortles, a quarterback from UCF who was taken by Jacksonville. Sometimes all it takes to be drafted high as a quarterback is a strong arm, and that's honestly the case for Bortles. The Jags took the local guy because they thought they could turn him into a franchise quarterback, but they didn't have the coaching staff to do it. He spent the first 5 years of his career in Jacksonville, going up and down as a starter until a magical 2017 season where the Jags were 1 win away from going to the Super Bowl but just couldn't win. After getting cut in 2019, he bounced around as a backup between the Rams, Broncos, Packers, and Saints before officially retiring in 2022. He finished his career with 17,649 yards, 103 touchdowns, and 75 interceptions. At number 2, the St. Louis Rams selected Greg Robinson, an offensive tackle from Alabama. The Rams hoped Greg Robinson would be a franchise pillar at left tackle, but he was instead probably the biggest bust in the entire class relative to his position. He only spent 3 years in St. Louis and Los Angeles, failing to keep weight and not really picking up on the NFL offensive line scheme. He's then traded to the Lions in 2017 for a 6th round pick, but only lasted a few weeks into 2017 before he was released. He signed with the Browns in 2018 and hoped to revive his career, where he was actually solid as a backup, but then was arrested in 2020 and hasn't played in the NFL since his time with the Browns. At number 1, the Houston Texans selected Jadeveon Clowney, a defensive end from South Carolina. He was an unbelievably good player at South Carolina, so his first overall selection was a no-brainer. But during his 5 years with the Texans from 2014 to 18, he couldn't shake the injury bug and was honestly just inconsistent. He showed flashes of how he played in college, as he made 3 Pro Bowls from 2016 to 18, but also had other bad moments. He He was tagged and then traded to the Seahawks in 2019, and then bounced around as a rotational pass rusher between the Titans, Browns, Ravens, and Panthers, where he's been very good. So far in his career, he's put up 52.5 sacks and 4 defensive touchdowns. Despite not making the peak of his career trajectory, he's definitely still a solid edge rusher. So yeah, today we talked about what happened to the entirety of the 2014 NFL draft class, and let me know what your thoughts are. What surprised you, who was the biggest bust from this class, and what draft class should I take a look at next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.